Right now on Game Debut, we've got picks for every game in Week 8, including Tua's debut against the Rams. What's tougher, saying Tua's last name or blocking Aaron Donald? In Seattle, the red-hot 49ers take on the Seahawks. The last time I saw anyone run like DK Metcalf, I was 12, and there were only 5 minutes left to trick or treat. Okay, fine, it was last October. But we start in Baltimore, where the Ravens play host to the rival Steelers. Lamar versus that defense should be a frighteningly fun matchup. I mean, scary good. I mean, absolutely spooktacular. Yeah, you got it. You're hearing Ricky Hollywood, and this is Game Debut, presented by Mercedes-Benz. Here now, Cynthia Freeland, Greg Rosenthal, and Andrew Hawkins.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Game Debut. That's right, you heard it from Ricky. We're starting off with the Ravens and the Steelers, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm watching for. I'm watching for how this Ravens offense handles this Steelers front seven. And lucky for them, I'm going to kick it off with some tips. I got 3 for you. Number 1, utilize the screen game. Get the ball out of Lamar's hands quick. Put it in the hands of your playmakers and let them do their thing. That's why you drafted Hollywood Brown in the first place. Number 2, throw the ball downfield. You have to keep the defense honest. We know you have a great run game, but you got to show your ability to pass it down the field. And lastly, Lamar, you got to block with your feet. I know that sounds crazy, but when the blitz is coming and there's pressure, there's going to be guys unblocked. You can either get it out of your hands quick or make a guy miss. And Lamar, you are the best in the league at making guys miss. Do that, buy yourself some time, and show them exactly what you're made of. What do you got, Cynthia?
Well, you talked about the blitz, but I'm going to talk about the blitz on the other side because the Ravens are blitzing, the Ravens defensive front is blitzing the most in the NFL. If you narrow that down to third down specifically, it's over 60% of the time. Now, if you look to see Ben Roethlisberger, he's been using those quick passes. He has a number 1 release, 2.29 seconds in the NFL. He's had a low pressure rate, number 1 blitz completion percentage. And you got to see, blitz doesn't always mean pressure. So I'm interested to see if that number 8 pressure cooker, the Ravens defensive front, is going to be able to change the narrative on Ben Roethlisberger and these short passes or not.
I feel like you both just covered everything. Like I'm just going to talk about one little thing Hawk mentioned in his 3 points. It's Lamar's deep passing. I love watching Lamar Jackson play football, and we know he's going to get it done running. But the deep passing and the plays to the outside haven't been as consistent as I was hoping this year. Now, part of that is his offensive line. They miss Marshall Yanda. They haven't been protecting as well. They haven't developed as much. Mark Andrews has dropped a lot of passes. We're seeing Lamar at his best, and he's made a lot of big-time throws. But that's the way to beat the Steelers' defense. I don't think you can run on them that consistently. I don't think you'll totally beat the blitz. You got to go deep. That's what Lamar needs to do.
Absolutely right. Let's get right to picks here. The Ravens are favored in this one by 4, and I'm going with the Ravens. Last year, Lamar had a tough game against them, threw 3 picks, took 5 sacks. I think he had a 35 QBR, which doesn't sound like someone who eventually went on to win the MVP. So I feel like they're going to be able to attack this defense. They understand what they got last year. They see the way the Steelers are playing. They'll be able to mitigate that, throw the ball downfield, and get a W. What do you got, Cynthia?
Well, it's our first pick, so go ahead and light it up because this is one of my finest. I have a 2-point win. So I'm sitting in the middle of 2 amazing people. This is the middle of 2 amazing teams. 25-23 in this matchup for me. And I think you're totally right, Greg. It's all about those deep passes to exploit what potentially could happen in the Steelers secondary. So for me, just a 2-point win.
I love reading between the lines here. So when you go finest, but you're picking the Ravens to win, but it's a really close game. It's like you don't totally believe in the Ravens winning. I got the Steelers. I think maybe you'd like to go against your model this week if you're going finest. I just think the Steelers are more complete. I think they're set up perfectly to beat the blitz. They have all these great receivers who make plays after the catch. A lot of great games this week. What's next, Ricky?
49ers at Seahawks. 2 teams with practice squads better than the entire NFC East.
Ooh, that is fighting words, and it's true, but not when it comes to the Seahawks defense. If they had great guys on their practice squad, they would be playing right now because this Seahawks defense is struggling. It almost makes me wish like they let Russ cook a little earlier, back when they did have a defense, because I think this matchup is tough for them. Shaquille Griffin is out for this game. He's their best cornerback. The 49ers have played well in recent weeks. They are definitely going to miss Deebo Samuel. But I think if you look at the 49ers, they're more complete. They're top 10 in efficiency in DVOA on offense and defense. Seattle, not as complete a team as San Francisco.
Okay, so the interesting thing about what you said is what you also didn't say was that the running backs for the Seahawks, they're also very confusing. Their injury report is quite long when it comes to the running back position, either doubtful or questionable for everyone from Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, Travis Homer. Who's going to be playing? What are we going to see from them? Is this going to be a reliable source of or first downs in this matchup, especially considering the Niners defense is good at stopping the run? I wouldn't play any of these people in fantasy. I would stay away from that, but I still think there's that guy Russell Wilson, and he might have more rushing yards because of it.
You know what? I'm talking running game too, but I'm talking 49ers run game. I mean, not just the running backs, and they've been playing well, but it doesn't matter who you put in there. It could be Hasty, it could be Wilson, it could be McKinnon, Mostert, Coleman. They don't care. This system is so well run. They are truly a well-oiled machine. They are plug and play, and the way they set it up to let it work against their play-action drift concept, which they got a lot of money on, and me, myself, playing in this offense, as you may know, Greg, I got a lot of money in that play-action drift myself. That's what I'm looking at, especially against this Seahawks defense, who is giving up yards at a record clip.
I mean, Kyle Shanahan, if he helps get you paid, Hawk's going to talk nice about you on national television. Why not? He's an amazing coach. The Seahawks are favored by 3 in this game. I have the 49ers in an upset. They've played so well lately. I just think there's something special about this team. And like I said, I think they're more complete. I think George Kittle has a big-time game against these Seahawks linebackers.
When I look at this game, I still have the Seahawks in the model 28-24. Now, Jamal Adams is still on the injury report. However, it's looking more and more like he could potentially play. That would be a big factor for me in this one, just so you got to come back on Sunday to check up with us to see what we think. But it really comes down to the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo and those short passes, that is something like the Pete Carroll special in stopping. So that's one of those things where I'm a little concerned about that from the Niners perspective, and that's why the model is choosing Seattle and Mr. Unlimited.
You know what? I like it. Great job, Model, because I'm going with Mr. Unlimited myself. I think the fact that the 49ers run so much actually does help the Seahawks, because the Seahawks can score at a high clip, and the 49ers is going to chip the clock away. And also, Russell Wilson, 3 picks last week against, being tricked by the defense. That's an anomaly. It doesn't happen, especially doesn't happen in back-to-back games. So I'm going with Mr. Unlimited, and I'm picking the Seahawks. But let's dig a little deeper in this one, Cynthia. Let's do the math. What do you got for me?
So we talked about George Kittle, and here's why he's going to have more than 64 receiving yards. His 87 average leads all tight ends, and Seattle allows just 480 total yards per game and about 370 in the passing game. That is Super Bowl era record type of stuff right there. And if you look also to see intermediate throws, Next Gen Stats shows those are 10 to 19 air yard passes. Seattle allows 127.2 passing yards per game, the most in the NFL from this distance, and that's where Kittle makes his hay, almost 28 receiving yards per game alone on just those. So that leads all tight ends, and that's why Kittle will have more than 64 receiving yards. My dear friend Ricky, who I'm so proud of, what's up next?
Rams at Dolphins. We're picking Tua's debut on Game Day Viewer.
Oh, I love it. All right, listen, what I'm watching for is I'm looking at Tua Tagovailoa against Tua, the best defenders in the National Football League, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. Now, for a rookie who's making his debut, you couldn't pick 2 worse players to have to go against. You have Aaron Donald breathing down your neck, trying to take your head off, and then you got Jalen Ramsey on the back end, shutting down your wide receivers, trying to snatch the ball out of the air. This is one of those situations where we'll find out right away what Tua is made of. Very similar to Justin Herbert finding out he's starting against the defending champs minutes before kickoff.
Well, just like that, I think that it's interesting that my model projects a very strong day for Tua. I don't think the O-line is the reason that will happen. Now, when I look to see, what is the model projecting? It is that Tua will make the O-line look better. This is not one of the stronger NFL O-lines. They have had a full 2 weeks with the bye in order to prepare for this situation. And yes, Aaron Donald's there. And yes, Jalen Ramsey's there. So they're going to kind of keep it away from both of those players.
Yeah, remember, they hired Chan Gailey, their offensive coordinator, to coach up Tua. They've been getting ready for this moment, but I don't think the Dolphins' defense is as set up well to stop the Rams' attack. Now, it's the play-action passing. That's what we know always works for Jared Goff. But the reason it works so often is because he's in great down-and-distance situations, and I think that's going to be the case this week. I love the Rams' running game with Daryl Henderson. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. There's a tease, but I love Jared Goff going up against this defense with a lot of 2nd and 4s, 2nd and 2s. The linebackers, coming up and trying to stop that run really opens up the passing game.
I'm going with the Rams. All right, I'm telling you right now, we're getting right to picks. Rams are favored by 3.5. Listen, my model will never let me pick a rookie quarterback in his debut in the middle of a season. Not happening. The Rams have been playing great football to date, and honestly, I mean, they don't have maybe the highest ceiling that I think in the NFC, but when you look at their foundation, it is probably one of the most consistently all-around better teams in the National Football League. Cynthia, what do you got for me?
So this is kind of surprising to me because the model actually picks the Dolphins by 1 point. The interesting part about this is the fact that this is not a normal season. There's no preseason footage of Tua. They are watching Alabama footage, which doesn't look like, look, Alabama is a wonderful program, but it's going to look a little different when you get to the NFL. So the kind of sneak attack, the ability to try some different things, that's what's really going to benefit them in this one. And that's why the model says, okay, we're going to see something weird. And that weirdness is going to give the edge to the people who are doing the weird things, meaning the new things, meaning Tua Tagovailoa.
Well, I have a coin flip game, but I did take the Rams to win by 1 point, 24-23. So, Hawk, we need this one because we're trailing Cynthia in the standings. And in a tough game with a coin flip, just pick the team that has Johnny Hekker. There's only one of those teams. It's the Rams. All right, Ricky, what's coming up next?
Next on Game Day View, presented by Mercedes-Benz, it's the game Bills Mafia has been waiting for all offseason. The Pats, in Buffalo, and finally, no Tom Brady. We've got picks for that one and Raiders-Browns on the other side of this break. Back on Game Day View, it's time for Drive to Excellence, presented by Mercedes-Benz. A 10-4 week kept Cynthia in the top spot, followed by Hawk and Greg. Fun fact, Cynthia is a Lions fan, and her favorite player on the 2020 team? Todd Gurley. That was Drive to Excellence, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Ain't that the truth?
You know what? I love it, Ricky, and she is so right, too, because I know that made you feel so good inside, Cynthia.
I mean, it didn't, but it was whatever. I'm still going to cheer either way because I got that 1-point win last week. Woo! Woo! Better to be lucky than good. Better to be lucky than good.
And I don't think I'm ever going to close the gap on our wins. But let's get right into Browns and the Raiders. All right, what I'm watching for here is I want to see, will the real Baker Mayfield please stand up? He started off last game, and it seemed like the same old thing we've seen all season, and then he goes on a tear. OBJ gets hurt, and thoughts and prayers to him. We hope he gets better and rehabs and everything else. But for Baker Mayfield in the rest of that game, I mean, he completed 25 passes in a row, set a franchise record. He looked like the Baker we seen rookie year that got everybody excited. So in this game, that's what I'm looking for. Is that going to be the same Baker Mayfield we're going to see?
Well, if you see the good Baker Mayfield and he has to make all those passes, it's because that other quarterback, Derek Carr, he's also possibly going to continue a good streak of games. I mean, really against Tampa was the first time we saw him not be awesome at play action and not complete deep passes. In fact, I rewatched that Kansas City game just to see the deep passes that he made. Henry Ruggs is a problem. He's super fast. There's a lot going on there. Nelson Aguilar, also a problem. So this could be an interesting game that's close and maybe back and forth. Maybe we get a chance to really see which of these quarterbacks is going to be the one that, really takes their team that are both playoff bubbly sort of teams and gives them a real shot to make it to the postseason.
The Raiders and John Gruden are doing some good things when they make players like Aguilar into stars. That he's playing better, unlike Aguilar's playing great with the Raiders right now. And I think that's going to be a problem for this Browns defense. No one ever talks about the Browns defense. It's like, could you name the Browns defensive coordinator? It's Joe Woods, by the way. Like, they have Myles Garrett. He's great, but he needs some help. We used to hear that this was going to be a great defensive line. Sheldon Richardson's been all right, but they could use more production out of Olivier Vernon, Ogunjobi. I just see a lot of big plays when the Raiders come to Cleveland. I don't think that's going to change. These are two offensive teams right now.
Yep, I mean, the Browns are favored by 2.5 here, Greg. We got to get to some picks. You know what? I'm going with the Browns. And it's not just because it's a homer pick. I'm going with the Browns because, to your point, Greg, I think we're starting to see something out of them. I will say this is the week that you will get a true glimpse of what the 2020 Browns will be. I feel like this is the game. If they come out and get a W here, then I think everyone should feel safe about saying, yes, the Browns are a legit playoff team, and they are as talented as we thought coming in, and they're going to do some things that they haven't done in Cleveland in a long time. What do you guys, Cynthia?
Okay, so you and I, we go together on this one because I have a 1-point win in this one, 27-26. So you're not going to be able to get one of those little helmet, little crown things up on me games on this one. I really think it's interesting for fantasy purposes. Rashad Higgins could be a good one. Rashard Higgins could be a good one. Or Donovan Peoples-Jones if you're looking for a nice fantasy wide receiver to help replace, not exactly replace, but you got to go look on the waiver wire somewhere, and one of those two could be available.
Cynthia trying to thread that needle again. I see what you're doing. I'm taking the Raiders to win this game. I'm going against the model, and I'm a little worried. I think Baker Mayfield will be fine, but I'm going to tell you who he really is, Hawk. He reminds me of Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk Cousins with a little bigger arm. Like that doesn't get me too excited in the morning, but you know what does is Cynthia doing the math.
Well, Kevin Stefanski probably can tell us the difference, and Kevin Stefanski is a big reason why you'll see Baker Mayfield is going to have more than 230 passing yards against the Raiders. The Raiders are the 5th worst pass defense in the NFL, so 283.8 right there. That's per game. 5 of 6 starting quarterbacks to face them this season have thrown for over 265, all but Cam Newton. And those 6 starting quarterbacks, they average 290 passing yards per game against the Raiders. So that's a good omen. One last thing, Mayfield's only 2 games this season against bottom 10 defenses. He averages 258. So over 230, I think that's a great thing to look for. Ricky, what's up?
Patriots at Bills, 30-mile-per-hour winds, and 2 teams who only scored on field goals last week.
Ooh-wee. Could be a low-scoring game. I don't think the Bills want it to be because they have the offense in the first month of this season that looked like one of the best. But the last 3 weeks, they're only averaging 17 points per game, and suddenly it's Josh Allen's old nemesis, the Patriots. He has played some of the worst games of his career against Bill Belichick. He's cooked him up. He had his moments late last season when they had a chance to win the division, and then he blew it. Sean McDermott's never won a game against Bill Belichick, but the matchup is really favorable, especially if Stephon Gilmore doesn't play. He was added to the injury report, missed practice Friday, so that is a big factor in this game.
So for me, I have no idea who Cam's going to pass the ball to, so I'm going to talk about Cam rushing the ball because the Bills are vulnerable against the run, and of course Cam Newton does that better than most anyone we've seen for longer, right? So ultimately in this game, Cam Newton's going to have a lot of responsibilities, especially with the injury report being so long for the Pats. Yeah, that one's going to be tough sledding there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head, Cynthia. I mean, they're going to have to run the ball in New England because they don't have the ability to pass it. I mean, look, rewatching the game last week, Cam Newton, even on the intermediate routes and some of the easy throws, he looked like he was struggling. I don't know if something's going on with his arm. And even if he could throw it, the receivers weren't getting open downfield. So that's what I'm looking for, is if the Bills take away this run game, what are the Patriots going to do?
Right. The Bills are favored in this game by 4 points. I mean, this is their chance. You better win this game, Sean McDermott. I just feel like it's set up to go win the division. I have the Bills winning this game comfortably. If not, I mean, if you don't win a game where the Patriots' number 1 receiver is Damiere Byrd and number 2 is Gunnar Olszewski, number 3 is Jacoby Myers, I mean, I don't know when you're going to beat the Patriots. This is the week, Bills fans.
Watch the opposite happen because we both have the same thing. 25-19 in this one. Bills Mafia, you can't come after me this week because I'm picking you yet again. The interesting part here, again, you don't have Julian Edelman. You might want to we'll go back to the last segment and go back and get one of the Rashard Higgins or, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I'm going with the Bills, too, and that puts us on meme alert because we're all picking the same thing. And shout out to Gunnar Olszewski. I'm a fan of him. But, yeah, I'm going with the Bills. I just don't think the Patriots have enough firepower, and I think Sean McDermott will win this game and ascend to the proper place within the division. Cynthia, what do you got?
Oh, some proper performance time. I do think there's going to be some points in the first half of this game, and I think there's going to be more than 16 points in the first half. Greg, I know these are your favorite proper performances. What do you think about this?
They are. It's so specific. The weather. But, hey, we could have defensive scores in this game. That wouldn't surprise me. Some slippery fumbles, returns, something like that.
Slippery. Okay, the next one in this same game. Stefan Diggs, who could potentially line up against Stephon Gilmore in the Battle of Stephans, will have more than 63 receiving yards in this game. Now, again, we don't know if Stephon Gilmore is going to play. I just really want that to happen. What do you think is going to happen here, Hawk?
Yeah, I think he goes over 63. I don't think Stephon Gilmore plays, and I think you're right. I think he cements his place as the top Stephon in this division.
Well, the Bills last week faced the Jets. This week, the Jets' opponent, Patrick Mahomes, is going to pass for more than 281 yards. So I have 281 over that with 3 touchdowns in this matchup against the Jets. What say you, Greg?
I could not love this one anymore. It's like Tyreek Hill's not even on pace for 1,000 yards. This is the get-right week for the Chiefs offense. Just put up a lot of numbers, help your contract negotiations. Mahomes might have this by halftime.
Cheetahs don't need planes to fly. That's what I say on that one. Next up, Tua Tagovailoa in his debut, more than 211 passing yards. 211 against, obviously, his first. It's not the greatest defense to go up against, but 211 seems very achievable with shorter passes. Do you agree, Hawk?
Absolutely, man. In today's game, and the arm that this guy has, Tua for 211, that's nothing to a boss, Cynthia. Could do this all day.
211. I love it. That's perfect. And last but not least, James Conner will be held to fewer than 71 rushing yards this week against the Ravens. So it's not a bad projection for him. You should still start him in fantasy. It's just these are rushing yards that I'm looking at. They're going to use those short passes, quick passes like we talked about. Agree or disagree, Greg?
Yeah, I'm with you. The Steelers are smart. They don't bang their head against the wall. The Ravens shut down the run. It's a week to start passing the ball.
Well, I'm not going to bang my head against the wall either. But, Ricky, what's up next?
Next on Game Day View, presented by Mercedes-Benz, our producer is a Bears fan, and the tease he wrote about them contained many words that would have gotten us fined by the FCC. So I'll just say, picks for New Orleans, Chicago after this timeout.
Last election, millions of voters were unable to cast their ballots. Why? No game plan. What's yours?
November 3rd, direct route, straight to the polls.
If you're there before the polls close, they have to let you vote. Gurley, Russ, let's go.
I used my mail-in ballot and checked online to make sure it was counted.
I registered early, and I got it done. I am a voter.
The NFL encourages the civic engagement of our fans, players, and NFL legends. Make your game plan at nfl.com/votes.
Saints at Bears. I don't have a toss because Matt Nagy didn't get it to me in time.
Ooh.
Oh, man. Below the belt, we're talking Saints and Bears. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for that. Matt Nagy, those are the storylines we are seeing all week. It's crazy how he has the record he has as the head coach, but he's probably one of the most criticized coaches. And when you have your quarterback in Nick Foles saying the soundbite he did that he wasn't getting plays in time, he needs a bounce-back game. Lucky for him, he has a 5-0 record on short weeks and an 8-4 record after a loss. So I think he comes back and he plays better than expected. Cynthia, what are you looking for?
Well, I'm just going to play the hit here because we have a lot of people on the injury report. Michael Thomas isn't playing. And the one thing that I do feel quite confident in, Alvin Kamara, of course. Obviously, this defense is not one you want to target in any specific way in certain areas, but one area that they are vulnerable is on the ground. There's going to be fewer of those pass catches for Kamara, but he's still running back number one by a long stretch for me. And I was even looking to see with Michael Thomas, he was still running back number one. So let's just play the hits there. Alvin Kamara is a huge difference maker.
He's good. I think he's got a career for him. And they don't have any receivers left. Marquez Callaway also out for this game. I'm looking at the Saints defense, though, because this Bears offensive line, the Bears offense in general, they're what we like to call slump busters. I don't know if you can put that into the model, but whenever the Bears offensive line shows up, everyone starts rushing the passer. Saints fans have been waiting for these guys to get it done. Marcus Davenport and Cameron Jordan, Onyemata, like they have not played as well this year as expected. This is the year, this is the week to bust that slump against the Bears. That's what they're for.
All right, let's get the picks here. Saints are favored by 4.5. I'm going with the Saints. Bears fans, stop tweeting me before the game telling me that I'm going to be so wrong. And then when you lose, I don't hear from you again until they get a W. I'm going with the Saints. I'm not picking on the Bears. I just think they're the better football team in this matchup. Is that so wrong, Cynthia?
No, I agree with you. I have 26-21. I learned what the word slump buster meant when I lived in Chicago, so that's just what was making me laugh so hard with my man Craig over there. I don't know if Allen Robinson's going to play, so if you are looking for a DraftKings potential situation or a daily fantasy potential situation, you could look at Darnell Mooney potentially could have a nice redeeming value for that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Hawk, about Bears fans. They turn on their team fast, too, after one bad game. And I think this is going to be 2 bad games. I think the Saints win 26-16. Comfortable win. And shout out to everyone in New Orleans that's able to watch it after the hurricane this week. I know a lot of people struggling there, and we send our thoughts to them. What game is up next, Ricky?
Chargers at Broncos. Tough break for Denver, facing the best QB in the AFC West a week after playing Patrick Mahomes.
Ooh, I mean, I'm not going to go that far yet, but it's getting close. Like, let's just show the amazing Justin Herbert plays right now. I'm asking Herbert, do me a favor. Like, don't play that well this week. Like, don't go crazy, because the hyperbole that I just want to shower on Herbert every week is like getting outrageous. It's getting irresponsible. He is up there with Patrick Mahomes in my mind in terms of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen in the first 5 games of their career. See, I just did it again. Like, he just inspires that. That's how good he is. Like, it's too much. He needs a game where he backs off just a little bit. Don't you think, Cynthia?
Yeah, this might be one of them because, look, Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the division. And last week, he was held to 0% on third down conversions by this Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, just like Cynthia was starting to say there, I mean, this defense is a good defense. The Broncos, Vic Fangio, the way he has them prepared every week, this will be a real test for Herbert. You know, our producers in the pre-show said, hey, let's try to find a couple angles to attack this from. I said, no, let's continue to talk about Herbert. The dude is a beast. I mean, he's 6'6". He's mobile. He can make every throw. To find out you are starting in your first game minutes before against the defending champions and to do what he did told me everything I needed to know about him, and he's been on a tear ever since. 300-plus yard games. He handles the blitz like he's been in the NFL for 10 years. I think he won't have a problem with the Broncos, but that's just me.
Right. I think you're right. Like, I don't think we're talking enough about Justin Herbert. We could do the whole show. He is the story of the season, and yet I'm not picking him this week. I'm taking the Broncos. I've never felt less confident in a pick than Broncos 27-26, but I do think that offensive talent for Denver will show up, and I think Chargers are going to Chargers somehow. I was hoping, Cynthia, I know we lost you a little bit for part of this segment. I was hoping you wouldn't show back up because I'm guessing you're taking the Chargers here, and I'm worried you're going to catch up a game on me.
I mean, I'm definitely taking the Chargers here. I have 25-20, so a decently comfortable margin in this one. And here's your fun fact to tell your friends. This is the first time since 1971 that 3 rookie quarterbacks who were all drafted in the top 6 are starting in the same week. The last time that happened, one of those quarterbacks was Archie Manning. So there's your fun fact for the week. What do you have, Hawk?
Wow. Well, you know what? I may have teased it, but I'm not going against Herbert in this game. I think he's going to play lights out against this Broncos defense. I also want to have to give Burrow some love, too, because we give a lot of Herbert love. I feel like Burrow is up there with Herbert in the way he's been playing, too. But that's another topic for another time. Chargers win. Let's do the math on this one, Cynthia. What do you got for us?
All right, Keenan Allen. So this is why Keenan Allen's going to have more than 69 receiving yards. First of all, his average is 88.9. Since Justin Herbert took over as the starter, that's number 6 in the NFL. Now, the interesting thing here is Broncos rank 13th in passing defense, 230.2 allowed per game. However, this is not the situation that you want to not look at Allen. You don't want to be scared off in any way, shape, or form. PFF says that Allen averages 8.4 yards per target versus man coverage since Herbert took over as a starter, and of course those Broncos play man coverage on almost 40% of snaps. That's 10th highest rate in the NFL. For me, it's all Keenan Allen over 69 receiving yards. Now, my very favorite segment, I'm so glad that I came back for it and the internet didn't drop me, because if I missed the Gregment, I would be upset.
You would be, because we're bringing it back this week, Cynthia. We're going back to my days as a fantasy analyst, the sneaky good fantasy plays of the year. I was paying rent in New York City, giving fantasy advice while you guys were still in diapers. Let's start with the Bengals. Joe Burrow, you just mentioned him. I think he's going to have a nice day. So will T. Higgins against the Titans. The Titans are not playing well on defense. They're banged up in the secondary. They're terrible on third down. They're not really a great pass rush team. Hawk, I think Joe Burrow, like your guy A.J. Green, doesn't he like catching passes from Joe Burrow?
He loves Joe Burrow. I mean, the 85 and the 9 couldn't be better numbers, because this reminds you of the making of the Carson Palmer-Ocho Cinco relationship. These guys are dope.
Ooh, good pull there, right? Let's go to the Bills-Patriots game. I like Josh Allen and Devin Singletary this week against the Patriots defense. I know I mentioned Allen's struggles in the pass against the Patriots, but this week it's like you're playing ghosts. They're not there anymore. The pass rush for the Patriots is not there. The front seven is not that good. The model backs me up, right, Cynthia?
Model totally backs you up. It's almost like I'm getting to eat pizza for dinner at the Rosenthal house.
That would be fine. My wife is a great cook. Let's finish up with Daryl Henderson. This guy does not get enough talk. The Rams running back going up against Miami, whose rush defense has really struggled this year. Daryl Henderson is in the top 4 of the league in success rate and DVOA in terms of his rushing. That's how good he is. You would not want to try to tackle this man, Hawk.
No, I wouldn't want to try to tackle him, nor would I try to tackle him. And I have to give him his props, man. In a world where he has to come on the heels of Todd Gurley and the larger-than-life figure he was, this guy has stepped up week in and week out. So absolutely great choice by you, Greg. What a Gregman.
What compliments. What a happy group we are this week. Well, what's coming up next on the show?
Since I'm sure you're all dying for an NFL Network show to talk about the Cowboys, we'll pick their game against the Eagles next in Quick Picks. This is Game Day View presented by Mercedes-Benz. Quick picks time, starting with Sunday Night Football and Cowboys-Eagles. Who are you kidding? You're still going to watch.
Eagles are favored in this one by 9.5. Let's get right to picks here. Time for the quick picks. I am going with the Eagles, man. I think Carson Wentz showed a lot late in that last game, and I feel like he's starting to get over the hump. Obviously, the Cowboys are a great team to continue that trend against, especially the way the Cowboys have been playing, and I don't feel anywhere near the same sentiment around the Cowboys offensive line. Cynthia, what do you got?
Well, light this one up because this is one of my finest as well. I have a 26-15 win for the Eagles in this matchup, and I have Carson Wentz passing for more than 246 yards. Why? Because since week 4, he's averaging 256, and of course that is when Travis Fulgham made his season debut.
I have a very similar score. The Eagles winning comfortably. You know, Hawk mentioned getting over the hump. I mean, the Cowboys are the hump. That's all they are right now. And the Eagles are getting healthier. Lane Johnson, Jason Peters, Malik Jackson, Jalen Reagor, they're all potentially coming back for this game. So that's great news for the Eagles. Next up, the Packers and the Vikings. Another good division matchup usually, but this year it doesn't look so good. The Packers are favored by 6. If we've learned anything about the Packers this year, it's that they can beat up on bad defenses. The Vikings waved the white flag, really, when they traded Yannick Ngakoue. Their cornerbacks are injured. I think the Packers win very easily. What about you, Cynthia?
Sames. I have 31-23 in favor of the Pack. In this one, I have Justin Jefferson getting more than 67 receiving yards. He's on pace for 8 games with 100+. That would break Odell Beckham Jr.'s Super Bowl era record with 7 games as a rookie. So that's interesting for me. I think you should absolutely be playing kind of everyone in this Green Bay offense. And one note here, Aaron Jones is again not playing, so you need to plan accordingly if you have him in fantasy.
Love the Jefferson shout-out, man. He's been balling and doesn't honestly get enough national love for what he's been doing. But I'm going with the Packers because they got back on the wagon last week, and I think they're for real. I mean, I know they had the down week against the Buccaneers, you know, but when you're watching their offense, they still are clicking the way that we've seen early on in the season. I think LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are really on the same page. And to you guys' point, no Yannick Ngakoue. I think it continues this week. All right, next up, we got the Colts at the Lions. The Colts are favored in this one by 3. Now, my pick here, Cynthia, we're on the same page because you're a Lions fan, right? I'm going with the Lions. The Lions have actually done really good against the run in the last couple of weeks against Jacksonville, against Atlanta. If they can do that against the Colts, they have a real shot here, Cynthia. What do you got?
You know my preference is to pick against the Lions, but the model is not letting me do that yet again.
Wow.
This week, 24-23. This is one of my finest because the margin is so interesting in this one. The Lions and DeAndre Swift, this is going to be a game where he's going to have at least 46 rushing yards. He's been playing really excellent, and really he's getting that volume. Now, the pick here is because Phillip Rivers in the passing game, that's a weakness, and the Lions have somehow been more efficient against that in recent weeks. What do you have, Greg?
I mean, you're giving me the other side of the Lions. I will take it. I got the Colts winning by 6. You know, the Lions have looked better since they came back from their bye, but this is absolutely a spite pick because the Lions, I went against them last week. They killed me. Cynthia, caught up a couple games because of that. Forget that. Let's ride with Phillip Rivers. Let's ride with Darius Leonard. He's back on the field. He is so important to that defense. So I do like the Colts to win, and I'm a little spiteful. Let's go to our next game. It's Titans-Bengals. Titans are favored by 6 on the road. I have the Bengals keeping it close in this game, just a 3-point win for the Titans because Joe Burrow, as I mentioned, him and T. Higgins, they're playing better. The last time you watched them was that Thursday night game against the Browns. They get better each and every week. This is actually looking like an offense that has a great future. Zach Taylor, their coach, he's the Bill Belichick of losing close games. So I think he's going to do it once again this week. Cynthia, what do you got?
I've got 30-23 in favor of the Titans. My problem is the Joe Mixon list factor, and I'm totally with you that when you look to see what Joe Burrow's doing, it's been great, and I like him. But Ryan Tannehill has been excellent, and he's going to pass for at least 268 yards in this matchup. I mean, I could tell you a lot of different things, but 10-plus air yards this season, 3rd highest completion percentage on such passes, 61%. It's going to be a nice day for him.
Yeah, I mean, my heart almost made me pick the Bengals here because the Bengals, just as an organization, has typically played well against the Titans. But no, Joe Mixon I couldn't really do it, so I got to go with the Titans and the Vrabel squad. I think they get the W. All right, next up we have the the Jets at the Chiefs. The line is 19.5. They're favored by 19.5 points. I'm going with the Chiefs. We can keep this pretty quick. I think we all pretty are aligned here. What do you guys think here?
I, too, have the Chiefs 35-15 in this matchup. And by the way, you could look at rookie LaMichael Pirine if you're looking for a running back replacement in fantasy, as he could be available and could have some value here because the Chiefs do give up a bunch of rushing yards.
Yeah, I have the Chiefs 34-11. We could talk about Sam Darnold versus Spagnuolo, but let's forget this game and get to what I like to call the sombrero game. It is Buccaneers versus the Giants. The Buccaneers are favored by 10.5, and if you didn't watch last week, Cynthia tried to come at me out of nowhere, threatened me, challenged me on what I called my pick of the year, which was the Buccaneers winning comfortably against the Raiders. I said, I'm sticking to it. I'm not worried. The loser wins a sombrero. Wears a sombrero. We see who lost, Cynthia.
I have a huge head because, let me be honest, this thing's not really fitting on my giant head. So I don't even know how awesome this sombrero is. I'm really glad to wear it, and I always pay off all of my, situations when we do this. So let's do it all the time. But it's kind of painful on my head. So I'm just going to tell you
it is like going out of the screen.
Sometimes
Bucks are going to win this game comfortably. I'm not going against them all year. If they're going to serve me up a sombrero on Cynthia's head, they deserve my loyalty. 35-17. What do you got, Cynthia?
I have 29-18. It's very painful, but we got it. There we go.
Come on, Hawk.
Hawk, what do you got?
This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'm losing focus. She's wearing a sombrero. It's Halloween. I'm going with the Bucks, too. I think the Bucks win easy. They're on a roll. Might be the most talented football team in the NFL. We're back with more Game Day View in just a moment. Ricky, what we got?
sometimes games are about more than who wins or loses. Sometimes it's about how many points are scored. We've got point totals for 49ers Seahawks, Saints Bears, and a whole lot more. Next on Game Day View, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
The only thing better than doing more or less with foam fingers is doing more or less with foam fingers and a sombrero that doesn't fit my gigantic head. So
doesn't fit the shot.
It doesn't even fit. It doesn't fit the shot. It doesn't fit on my head. My head's huge too. I don't even know how that's. Anyways, all right. Saints and Bears, more or less than 45 points. Ready? More or less than 45 points. But there's a bunch of injuries.
I know it's a low-scoring total there, but the Saints do not have Marquez Callaway or Emmanuel Sanders or Michael Thomas. I think the Saints can win a defensive game. That's what it'll be.
I have 26-21. That's 47 points. That's more. That happens in 58% of the simulations. Next up, okay, 49ers Seahawks, more or less than 54 total points. Come on.
I'm going less. I think the San Fran 49ers are going to ground it out and take a lot of time off the clock, and I don't think they'll reach those limits.
I agree with you. I have less than this one, too. 28-24 is 52. That is less, 57% of the simulations. Okay, next up, Chargers Broncos, more or less than 44 total points. More or less than 44 total points.
I love these young quarterbacks. Drew Lock's going to play better. By the way, Cynthia, you're like 7 games up on me in picks, but I don't care now because I'm the one who made you wear the sombrero. Like, that's winning.
That's like 3 wins right there.
You did get the W in that. Listen, I'm owning it. In my giant head, we're owning it. Okay. Colts at Lions, more or less than 50 total points. It doesn't even fit on my head. More or less than 50 total points.
I'm going more. And I also feel like, the Lions offense is going to get going more than people think this week. So I think that's going to aid it when they get the W.
Okay, well, I do have a good Swift and a good Kenny Golladay production, so here we go. Okay, last but not least, Rams at Dolphins. More or less than 46 points. 46. This is sombrero in my head. We're getting somewhere with this thing now. More or less.
Are we all in agreement?
We agree.
Don't trust that Dolphins defense. Don't trust that Dolphins defense yet.
All right, well, I'm not taking the sombrero off, but Ricky, what's next?
Let's face it, Monday is probably going to be the last day you'll want to be on social media for a while. Our Twitter predictions for Week 8 are next in Monday Morning Timeline. This is Game Day View, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
All right, it is time for Monday Morning Timeline, where we talk about what we think we'll be tweeting after this week's slate of games. Cynthia, what do you got?
I have some helpful tip here for you. This is how you pronounce Tagovailoa.
Yes.
Tung-o-vai-loa. Tagovailoa. That's for everyone else out there. See? Happy to help.
See, I like that. The motto going with the rookie QB. I don't know. I don't like it. Let's go mine next. Tee me up. Let me show you what I got. We're talking Patriots and Cam. Cam, at Cam. I am ready if you need me. The jersey doesn't fit the same anymore, especially around the midsection. But it doesn't matter. You need help at the wideout spot. Your boy is here, Cam. Talk to me. Greg, what do you got for us? Finish us off.
All right. I'm going back to Joe Burrow. I'm saying Joe Burrow on Monday morning. He's almost as hot right now as Hawk's IG modeling shots. Look at that shot.
Let's go.
I'm not hating on you, Hawk.
Yes,
like, you're out there representing. Short men can be sexy too. More power to you, Hawk.
Hey, you know what? I'm a symbol
so
now. You know, I mean, talk about Cynthia's model gets all the love on this show. You can't leave me out.
You're the model. What does that last look like? Prison pajamas? What is it? What's going on with that one?
Chic.
Orange is the new black. That's what we're calling it. All right, that's it for Game Debut. Cynthia Freeland, Greg Rosenthal, Hawk Hawkins. We'll see you here next week, Sunday, 11 a.m. on NFL.com. Peace.